There is some reason to suppose that there is an advantage to being a man in certain subjects. There's reason to suppose that gender essentialism, biological determinism, whatever you want to call it, the fact that there are male brains and female brains, may indeed have some basis in science. Now, this is sort of thrown out of the window completely by feminists and female academics who just refuse to accept that there's any reason whatsoever why there might be a gender imbalance. Two things on that. One, actually the science is very much still out on that. And two, if you look at equality in society, if you look, for example, at Bangladesh versus Norway, what you notice is the number of women in science and technology subjects actually goes down as societies get more equal, because women simply don't make the same choices that female academics and feminists would like them to. Women actually don't want to go into the sciences on the whole, and when they have every option available to them, they tend to choose not to.
Yeah, I've said this a million times. Like, why are there more white firemen than Asian or black firemen? It should, and it's like, maybe white guys are more attracted to this versus nursing.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus airport security. Like, I don't know. Can we just, let's decide that there's not discriminatory hiring practices, and then once we do, there's just more white firemen. That's the way it is.
Let the water reach its own level.
Or more, or it's 96% males. I don't know why, but I don't know what percentage of nursery school teachers are males. I'm not attracted to that. I wanted to be a fireman. I never wanted to be this. If my son wants to teach nursery school, that'll be fine. But I'm guessing the lion's share of young boys he plays basketball with would rather be a fireman at this point. It's a biological thing. Are we cool? Mm-hmm. Are we okay? All right, we'll take a quick break. Milo Yiannopoulos.
Hello.
Is in studio. We're all... Well, at least I'm a big fan. I can't speak for everyone. And I don't know that everyone isn't a big fan. I've gotten off to a rough start. We're all huge fans.
No, it's fine. Do you know, I wanted to do one of those things, like celebrities read mean tweets. I wanted to do my own version. The problem is that everyone fucking loves me. So I mean it nicely, but, I'm looking on the internet trying to find, like, really funny, trolly replies, and occasionally somebody will say, go take a bath with a toaster, and it's like a 6 out of 10, Right. I like to give my trolls scores. I'll rank them, and then I'll give them tips on how to improve, because I want better haters.
Have you blocked anybody?
Well, I try not to block people because I quite like to I like the crazy of the internet. Everybody else, or every other journalist I know hates their readers, hates comment sections, hates, Twitter, all the rest of it. I love it. I love the drama. I love the chaos. I think it's fantastic. So I like to read everything, as awful as it is and as great as it is.
The speaking tour is the Dangerous Faggot Tour.
Dangerous Faggot Tour.
Which is continuing through 2016. Dates and tickets are at the website. That is, I'll spell it out for you, YIANNOPOULOS.net is where you go. Now, you start off, and you still are, a technology correspondent for Breitbart, but then start spinning off into some other directions.
I could not be contained by one vertical.
And what do you, is that, I feel the timing is perfect for a guy like yourself, because we're going insane. And I always say, this guy was talking about metal, but I always say grunge music was born of hair bands. We'd had enough Aquanet and eyeliner to last us we had an impacted ass full of guys in spandex pants. So we went full Kurt Cobain and Soundgarden. That's where we went.
The pendulum swung the other way.
Yes, and we're going so insane on campuses now that we're all dying for your voice to come out and scream at us and set us straight.
It's kind of you to say so. I think what's interesting about me sort of popping up at the moment is that I'm kind of impervious to the usual critiques from the left. Now, what they like to do when you make any kind of evidence-based argument, whether it's about women in the workplace, you played a clip earlier which was about, why there aren't more women in whatever, whether it's about the wage gap, whether it's about campus rape culture, any of these other lies the left tells to get at people, their usual strategy, if you try to ask them for evidence or facts, or you dispute their version of events, is to try to delegitimize you as a human being rather than interrogate the argument, because of course they can't, because they're wrong. None of the facts are on their side. So they'll call you a bigot, they call you a misogynist, a racist, a homophobe, a transphobe. I mean, most people don't even know what these words mean, less still guilty of the offences. they sort of can't get me on any of that stuff because I'm a, sassy, gay, British columnist who never shuts up about black dick. You can't get me on racism, you can't get me on sexism, you can't get me on homophobia. It just doesn't stick because it's not so
I
obviously
don't know
not
English
true,
desserts. What is black dick again?
It's like spotted dick.
Black dick. It's
that'd be like
it's a
chocolate?
layer of chocolate ganache with a cream topping, and you just shove it up your ass repeatedly.
I'm going out to England
I'm acclimatizing this
summer.
show.
I'm going to ask for some black dick.
Outside. I know how this show goes.
Well, I'll ask when I'm driving in the cab on the way from Heathrow. I'll just say, find me some black
dick.
Take me to the nearest.
Yeah, take me to. I've got a lust for black dick.
I find it sad. I'm with you on this, but I've said it a million times. I find it really sad that I have many answers to many of life's vexing problems.
I listen to your show. I know you're right about almost everything.
It's usually family and education, but I can't go on Huffington Post and explain to the nice young lady what's going on in the black community because I'm not black. Which is insane. It's insane. It's like saying your doctor can't work, only has to work on people of his own nationality or something. And by the way, am I not allowed to have an opinion on anything? Do I have to be stuck in traffic to have an opinion on traffic? Or can I do it from my house in my slippers? It's insane.
Do you know, I've actually written a column about this, and my conclusion on this subject...
And it's racist.
It is racist. You're absolutely right. I've written a column about this. I have decided that, in fact, these equality and diversity departments, so long as they exist, if we think they need them, they should be staffed exclusively by rich, straight, older white men. Why? Well, for the same reason that it works quite well when judges look like that. Because they're not subject to the supposed oppression under discussion, they're not biased. Who better than somebody, if you believe in the concept of privilege, which is, of course, fairy stories, like a conspiracy theory dreamed up by the left to bash people they don't like. If you believe that there is a patriarchal, heteronormative, cis, white, conspiracy theory to keep oppressed minorities down, surely you want the most impartial possible judge. You want somebody who's not affected by privilege, somebody who's going to be able to take a dispassionate view of the warring fact, because very often these things come into combat with one another. Women versus gays, or Hispanics versus blacks, or as the sort of stuff.
Rich Whitey with the monocle
somebody needs to sift through this stuff. So why not choose the most privileged people of all? So I'm out, obviously, but when Daddy's president and when he elects me to press secretary, I'm going to put your name forward for the head of equality and diversity in the Trump White House, because I very firmly believe you would be the best person for the job.
The other spurious argument that a lot of folks on the left make when you bring up any of these facts is they pull out an example. Like, I know a single mom of 18 who actually worked her way through college and now is a successful attorney. And it's like, yeah, okay, I go nuts because whenever Bill Maher starts talking about radical Islam, it's like, whoa, not everybody, I went to high school with a guy who was Muslim, who's perfectly gentle guy. Like, yes, not everyone. Stop it. It's no way. This is the worst way to solve a problem. Well, the worst way to solve a problem is like the doctor to go, not everyone has smallpox. And you go, yes, but a significant number of our society does.
Enough people have smallpox to make it a health risk.
Right. So I treated a kid this morning who did not have smallpox.
So you can't say smallpox. And it's like, yes, we can. And why can't we? Wait a minute. Do you have smallpox? No, I don't. Well, then you shouldn't be talking about it. It's an insane way to solve a problem.
Well, the left has developed this view of the universe, which now unfortunately obtains in the majority of the media and in all universities everywhere, which is why I'm doing a college tour, that is based on identity politics, that there is something about what you're born as that gives you special X, Y, Z. Now, I thought we were past this stuff, I thought the left was down with Martin Luther King, judged by the content of character, not by skin colour. Actually, the thing that people don't realise is that Martin Luther King lost, Malcolm X won. And now feminism has become about female supremacy and sort of female chauvinism and misandry. Black Lives Matter is a violent, destructive, selfish black supremacy movement. And all these things are based ultimately on a philosophy from the left of identitarian politics, like what you are is what you were born, rather than, as I think most perhaps most people on the right and most libertarians, and certainly most of the people that I like, would prefer society. We would prefer society to be organised according to what you think and what you say, what you believe, the work you've done, what you've learned, your conclusions, your reason. And the reason that the left loves to fall back on anecdotes, as you correctly identified, is that their whole world is viewed through the prism of individual identity. And when you try to approach them and say, well, why don't we look at the data on this? Why don't we look at what's actually happening in society? They don't want to know, because they want to talk about emotions and specific instances, because their whole universe is translated through this filter of my personal experience and, like, you know, my lived experience. You know, actually, that's like runs really contrary to my like lived experience. Here's like what I've actually discovered in my life. Like, I don't care like about because you're dumb as fuck and you don't know anything. You've never learned anything, and you're spouting like political positions on the basis of the fact that, you know, you didn't get a rent control apartment. Like, this is the level of discourse on the left now. It's very difficult to break through that with facts, but that's what I'm trying to do with the tour.
Here's a cool, well, first off, and facts for people who don't want to hear the facts are tough to digest. Right. I mean, you can't do it like you're trying to get some nice goose pate. It'd be nice if you could just ram it down their throats. But if you have someone who's not
sexualized
interested in facts, then the facts aren't going to take. So
that's why I try to offend them instead.
But right. Part of the problem, Gary, you can find me having a nice conversation with a nice lady on the Huffington Post talking about the school-to-prison pipeline. But see, the thing about facts is you're coming at a place where it's like, look, we would like less black people incarcerated, and we would like less black people, young black men, shot. So let's try to solve this problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've talked to some people and I've crunched some numbers. It turns out when families stay intact, their children are much more likely to have success. And they go, well, that's your white privilege talking. And you go, no,
like
I looked at the
something intrinsic
numbers
to your skin color that makes you a deadbeat dad or whatever. No, take some fucking personal responsibility. You know,
families
look after your children, and life gets better for everybody.
It turns out married couples are much more successful than single. Turns out the children of married couples, statistically, less likely to end up in jail, much more likely to get a college degree, and live out of poverty. There's a million statistics just saying, stay together, raise your children, have success. That's it. And by the way, it universally affects white, brown. If any Japanese folks ever got divorced, I say it would happen to them too, but I'm not aware of that.
Once the scourge of divorce reaches the fine nation of Japan.
Then when you go across the color rainbow,
You're absolutely
it has
right
the same
this.
effect on young Hispanic kids and young white kids as it does on young black kids. So it's out.
Yeah.
We know what the facts are. Now, could we simply implement that? And it's like, not so fast. So are we really talking about a group of people that would like to solve a problem? Because if you really want to solve a problem, you do that. If you don't, we then call you a racist, sexist, homophobe, or sorry, that's me, and what have you.
I think they like to call me the homophobic homosexual because I don't like gay marriage very much, and I'm trying to wrap my head around the sort of name calling strategy of the left. It's amazing. It's good fun. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about all of those things. And there's a reason why fast-growing economies don't have a huge clamour for gay marriage and all the rest of it, because they recognise that traditional heterosexual nuclear family is the engine of the economy and the building blocks of a healthy society. You know, it keeps crime down, it keeps happiness up, it keeps productivity up. If you're, a right-winger and who cares about that sort of stuff, that's good stuff. If you're a left wing and you care about people's happiness and flourishing and fulfillment, I mean, I think we all care about all those things, but you know what I mean? If you're coming from an emotional point of view, like the left often does, the best way for people to be happy is to have a mum and dad.
But the thing that's crazy is when it comes to climate change, they're all about the numbers, the data, statistics. All of a sudden, they all become meteorologists, which is fine, but which is it? Are you data-based? Because you're telling me that in Greenland, the ice shelf has shrunk 21% since 1978, and that the water's risen in Florida 3 millimeters in the last 10. Okay, good. I like stats. I got some stats about family and the school-to-prison pipeline and the black community. Would you like to look at those stats? No, I shun those and reject those completely and call you racist.
Why,
is that or not?
Well, the thing you have to understand about the liberal mind is it is capable of the most extraordinary cognitive dissonance. I mean, for example, they will tell you on the one hand that all gender is socially constructed, that people aren't born girls and born boys. It's a sort of thing that evolves as a result of societal privilege.
I have 9-year-old boy-girl twins. So.
Right, and they'll tell you that...
no, you don't know which is which.
They'll tell you...
Neither do they.
If you were living in Canada, you would be legally forbidden from calling one of them a boy and one of them a girl. Just let them grow up and see what gender they want to be.
Right.
This is all socially constructed, unless you're a tranny. And then, of course, you've got a female brain. And if you deny that this person is a woman, you are a bigot and you should be shunned from public life. They're perfectly capable of holding not just contradictory beliefs, but contradictory scientific beliefs. They're perfectly capable of, of presenting, studies and numbers and all the stuff that we like, completely contradictorily in different circumstances and not giving a shit about it. Most of the climate change stuff, they contradict themselves. Most of it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. For the party of science, for the side that they like to think of themselves as the side with the numbers and with the science.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They have so little respect for the scientific method. It's extraordinary.
Here's what I like to try to tell whenever I talk to Ed Begley Jr. I said, look, I replaced all my conventional light bulbs with LED light bulbs because it's cheaper for me.
Yeah. And
I'm motivated to do it. They last longer. I get a smaller electric bill. Win-win, and you get slightly less greenhouse gases or whatever it is. So, whether we're creating climate change or not is not really, to me, it's not really argument. It's if we are, then let's build nuclear power plants because that'll save a lot more than coal burning plants would do. No, we're against that. So which is it once again? Can we look at the statistics? Can we crunch some numbers? Can we simply ask smart people, what is the cleanest form of energy? They will tell you it is nuclear. Now, all right, can we use that? Absolutely not. Okay, but so more guys just die in a coal mine. Is that okay? Well, no. Well, then what do we use? I don't know. I'll tell you what I don't want. And that's the answer.
It's interesting how they started this fight too on the climate change thing. They went in hysterically, apocalyptically on emotion-based stuff. Like, we are terrible people. We're raping the natural world. We're destroying the world around us. It's all our fault. Man-made climate change, and they upgraded it to climate chaos. And and it was only really when they realised that they had to be evidence-based they started winning people over. They're saying, well, there's that whole other thing, like, there just won't be any of this stuff left, and we need energy security. And then normal people were like, well, actually, I would like cheaper bills, and it would be good if we did have power in 50 years. And okay, fine, we'll do it that way. They don't seem to understand that most people want to know about numbers and data and evidence, and instead it was this sort of apocalyptic, guilt shaming. I mean, all this stuff comes to the middle class, right? What you would call the upper middle class is the root of all evil. That's where feminism comes from. This is where this sort of this middle class white guilt that gives rise to most of the liberal nonsense, and they just seem to hate themselves and everybody else. And I get the impression they just wish that people weren't on this planet. I mean, you look at the president. Obama obviously doesn't like the country very much. You look at liberals; they don't like people very much. I mean, they just seem like it's just sort of a political movement born out of the most abject self-loathing. Yet they have the gall to call me a self-loathing homosexual because I like to make an interesting argument about whether gay marriage is a good thing or whatever. They'll pathologize you whilst having their entire worldview ultimately born out of self-loathing.
We got the HuffPo thing. I want to say this real quick, you've arrived as a country when you hate yourself. You mean you're out of problems. We were talking about the Filipinos.
You turn that laser inward.
Yeah. Filipinos love themselves some Filipinos. I mean, Manny Pacquiao's punch drunk and president. You know what I mean? Like, they love it. And when Manny Pacquiao fights, the whole city shuts down. And by the way, that's 4 a.m. on a Sunday or whatever, because with the time difference and whatever it is. But, I said country, city? Yeah, we screwed up. Anyway, so the Philippines love the Philippines. We were just talking about this with Max Pata. You marry a Filipino, do a Filipino profession, don't embarrass your father with the blah, blah, blah.
With the guitar playing.
With the guitar playing and this, that, and the other. This country's officially out of problems, so we have plenty of energy to turn on ourselves, which I believe we're doing right now. Look, when you're trying to conquer nature and build cabins in the woods and stuff, you don't turn. No. You don't have energy. We got a lot of extra energy. Yes. I'll play this HuffPo thing, and I want to know if you think Mother England has the same energy to hate themselves or more.
There's a reason I left.
All right. Let's listen to the nice lady argue with me over two simple concepts. Talking about, I have,
So what was it that you and Gavin Newsom were talking about? I mean, you were talking about poverty, right?
Gavin Newsom went on this jag where he said half the Hispanic and African American people living in Los Angeles don't have access to an ATM or checking accounts. And I said, why not? And he said, what do you mean, why not? Or something. And I said, what's the problem? And he said, it's a multitude of problems. And I said, well, what are they? And he started off on this jag about check cashing places preying upon blacks and Hispanics. And I said, who else are they preying upon? And he said, everybody. And I said, then why'd you just single out blacks and Hispanics? And he said, because they're preying upon them. He did a bullshit, cowardly politician, talk in a circle, provide no answers, just make these broad sweeping proclamations that black people and Hispanic people couldn't get checking accounts. And my question to him was and still is, why not? What's going on? You mean if a Hispanic person walks into a bank, they're going to be turned away, or what's going on? And then you're a politician. What are we doing here to try to?
He didn't give you a good answer as to perhaps what he thought maybe some of the systemic causes are that
he had zero.
Leave minority groups in in positions where they are more likely to live in poverty and.
I gave him the answer, which is family and education, and we can all get out of this mess. And he said it was much more complicated than that. But then
it is a little more complicated than that, than just saying family and education.
Not much.
Oh, but come on! I mean, it's a system, right? Where if it is much harder to get out of a certain income.
It's a system. Yes, we have a system in place that holds down blacks and Hispanics, but doesn't hold down Indians and Asians. That's our system. Remember at the meeting? Yeah. Well, let her go. She got another 25 seconds here. But she is arguing with me. It was much more complicated than that. But then
it is a little more complicated than that, than just saying family and education.
Not much.
Oh, but come on! I mean, it's a system, right? Where it is much harder to get out of a certain income bracket if you're born into it. If you live in a certain neighborhood,
right?
That's
why you have to focus on family and education. I mean, I'm not Christian or anything.
You're not going to solve everything.
It would solve everything, yeah.
Just family and education. What about the drug war that we have that's failing? What about the school to prison pipeline? Things like this.
The school to prison pipeline, if you focused on education, I think would interrupt the school to prison pipeline.
Well, the problem is that schools are maybe not focusing on education so much as they are on reprimanding children.
There she is. She's self-composed. That's the talking. There's the talking points. There's your talking. Full chocolate. Who had answers? Who had more answers, her or Gavin Newsom?
It was a dead heat.
A dead heat of a big fat fucking zero of answers. Now he wanted to talk about slavery.
It's very strange.
Gavin Newsom's going to be, we're going to get him or Via Retardo as the next governor of California, everyone. Enjoy your lives. I'll be with my family getting educated. Sorry.
No, the weird thing about this is, if there is, for instance, a patriarchal conspiracy to keep women down, it's not doing a very good job.
No.
Women are now going to university more than men. Ugh. There's a male suicide epidemic. According to many figures, women now get paid. If you believe there's a pay gap, if anything, the numbers are reversed and women are getting more money under 30.
Under 30.
If you go to, but this is going up all the time. If you, 97% of workplace fatalities are male. More women go to college. Women get better jobs.
They live longer.
Men pay way more into the tax system and take way less out because not just because of pregnancy, because women get sick more and live longer. If there is a patriarchal conspiracy to keep women down, it is doing a really, really bad job. And the same holds true of all of these other leftist conspiracy theories. Look at the numbers. It's not true.
All right. I'm not as far, and we'll do a little news. First, give me a warm-up, would you, sweet chicks?
Be right back.
I like the cut of his chin.
Can I ask a quick question, Milo?
Yes.
So I'm wondering, you do these tours. A lot of them are protested. Sometimes they're shut down. Mm-hmm. Two parts. A, are there kids that actually show up and want to be there and are excited that you're there, because we only see the ones that aren't? And B, has anyone ever come up to you and you've changed their mind, or are they just sitting with their arms crossed?
Well, the second, I mean, liberals are fame whores. They're star fuckers. So even the feminists who are disagreeing with the audience come up for photographs and signatures and autographs afterwards. So, I mean, how much, and if they even show up to the real talk at all, because, it's raining outside, and why can't I just do it on Facebook? Lazy and disreputable people. If you were to come to the talks, you would discover that this crazy social justice instinct in universities, which is telling white people that there is something wrong with them because they're white, men that there is something wrong with them because they're men, almost sort of elevating homosexuality to a sort of, or anything that isn't straight, to a sort of morally superior environment. It's very weird. The left doesn't see the irony of ridiculing and discriminating against people on the basis of skin color, sex and sexuality, but apparently they don't. You discover actually at my talks sort of bring the internet to life. I have a very large fan base of very excitable and wonderful, smart people who are grateful that somebody is finally talking to the under 40s or whatever. And actually at my talks, you sort of get an internet comment section come to life. So you'll get somebody chanting Black Lives Matter and smearing blood over their faces. But then the frat boys will start chanting Trump, 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 just as a sort of tribal rejoinder. My experience so far has been that the crazy social justice loons are a very small minority. Most people just want to be nice and want to be educated about this stuff and are being told lies by their professors and being told lies by the media and being told lies by the student unions. And they believe this stuff about campus rape culture and the wage gap because they've got no reason not to. But when you go and you give this talk, I just see like jaws dropping and eyes widening right all the way through the room. And there's a queue of I rarely talk to audiences of less than 500 these days, and there's a queue of 350 of them waiting for autographs and pictures, and that's almost unprecedented on campuses. It's outside of like proper celebrity, like rock stars.
Milo, I have a theory that flies in the face of what you just said, which is You're
allowed to be wrong. That's okay.
I don't believe that they do believe. I really don't. Like when they say there's a rape culture that's on campuses, why are they shipping their kids off to college in record numbers? They're female daughters.
I'm talking about the kids. The students do believe this.
The students believe it.
At Rutgers, 2 weeks after I was there, they held a group therapy session. This is true. They had a group therapy session which involved the police, members of the campus authorities, student leaders, professors, to help the students that were so traumatized by my presence on campus, students who hadn't even been to the talk, who were just so traumatized by my presence on campus, by the existence of a gay man with the wrong opinions, that they needed therapy. They needed to be coaxed. Now look, I believe that these students are sincerely traumatized, which is why in the last couple of talks I haven't gone quite as hard on the poor kids. The problem is the faculty. The problem is university administrators. They are not teaching kids properly. And in many cases, in these liberal arts colleges, these small places like Bucknell, in Pennsylvania, the professors don't just not teach the fact-based, libertarian, conservative, alternative points of view to Marx. I mean, Marx, of course, being the number one economics textbook in the country by a huge margin. They don't just not teach the alternatives, they don't even know them. And it's so endemic is this far left progressivism in the education system in this country that they're churning out students who are dumber than when they went in. Gender studies graduates are less able to have a healthy, successful, well-adjusted life and less ready for the workforce than when they started at college. And that's my experience. The problem is not the students, the poor kids who in many cases do feel
you're 19, your brain's mush.
The problem is the faculty and the administrators.
And a lot of what I was saying in the hypocritical department, every left-leaning celebrity in this town they've got two issues. They got the rape culture on the campus, and they got the rising sea levels. They're sending their kids off to college and moving to Malibu. So, if you're really worried about the rising sea levels and the rape culture, why are you living in Malibu?
This is the thing. When conservatives say they're worried, when Obama comes out and says yet another thing that makes Second Amendment kind of people worried, they go out and buy guns. They put their money where their mouth is. Every time, Obama doesn't like the First or the Second Amendments very much, but he particularly doesn't like the Second. And every time he says something about guns or tries to push something through an executive order or whatever, sales of guns go up because we put our money where our mouth is. Liberals, on the other hand, who have run these institutions for decades, are now expecting us to believe that these far left liberal institutions are hotbeds of rape and racism. Well, if they are, you did it, mate, and you're still sending your kids there.
That's the part that's always insane to me. Like, you guys,
it's insane.
It's the most liberal place on the planet, and it's basically It's a rape cellar that you guys have been running for 40 years?
But what's so funny is when they turn it on each other...
Find a mirror.
They would pay for the privilege to go to.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's funny, there was like a gender pay gap scandal at Gawker a while ago, because some woman, some of these idiot bloggers has been sort of, indoctrinated into believing that there's some kind of wage gap problem at Gawker. She does the same kind of babyish numbers that the regular guys do to come up with, the pay gap.
I can see her walking in. Bad time to ask for a raise.
Yeah.
Very bad time to ask for a raise.
All raises have been temporarily suspended.
But it's great because they start turning on each other, and now this happened at Gawker. I mean, the wage gap stuff is nonsense. Most of your listeners will know this, right? If you take the total amount of money earned by women and the total amount of money earned by men, you do a simple division. Well, that's earnings, not wages. Women don't get paid less for the same work. That's because there are all sorts of reasons why. When women don't work as hard, sorry about it. As a gender,
I have 2 jobs.
As a gender, not you, love.
Outlier.
Not you,
That's
love.
what I'm saying.
Because she does this and she makes your sandwiches. I get it. But women, in general, don't work as hard. They work shorter hours. They take longer holidays, irrespective of children. Now, I'm a nice person. I don't mind subsidizing, pregnancy, even though I'm gay. Like in the tax system, I don't mind paying more in and getting less out because it's babies. It's important, right? We've got to perpetuate the species. But if you lie to women about this stuff, they get very angry about it. And anyway, do you know what I want to know? I want to know where when the gay straight pay gap is going to be fixed. Because the way that they do the numbers with men and women is they just take all the money earned by straight people, all the money earned by women, and all the money earned by men, and they just divide it. Well, I want to take all the money earned by straight people and all the money earned by gay people and divide it. And you're going to find there's a pay gap of I'm like 97% pay gap or something. When are they going to fix it? You see, it's babyish economics when you put anything else in that bucket.
I agree.
But the good thing is they're turning on each other now. Gawker has this scandal. What was it? Was it the Obama White House? There was some Washington Post headlines about this. Obama White House is sort of like terrible pay inequality. Why? Because the women don't work. They
don't have time to worry about that right now. They have to come up with $115 million for Hulk Hogan.
All right, let me make us.
Great?
Let me. Who are you for? Who are you voting for?
Daddy, for sure.
Trump. Daddy?
I call Trump Daddy.
Oh, we're quickly back to England for a second.
Yeah.
We are out of problems here, as I always say, so we hate ourselves.
Agreed.
That's what we do. We're basically like a teenager who has...
I have lots of problems. I still hate myself.
They have nothing... We have nothing to do and eventually they just start cutting on their thigh. We just start, that's what we do. We don't have any predators, any enemies, there's no wars, anything that we fear.
No existential threats.
So we start overdoing it with hand sanitizer, and if someone invents something called Veggie Wash, and my wife goes out and buys it because we don't have problems. But in the UK, you guys are sort of out of problems.
Well, we were.
Well, you were, but are you guys cutting on yourselves like we are, which is constantly beating yourself up?
I like your analysis. It's a sort of return of emo. Those of us who grew up in the 90s, we had Kurt Cobain and Marilyn Manson and Bret Easton Ellis. We kind of knew what pain was. The millennial generation, at least, is what I like to call the first entirely middle-class generation. They've never really known trauma. They've never really known any pain. They've never really wanted for anything. But the slightly older generation, the sort of those bitter 35-year-olds that work at BuzzFeed, who are just obsessed with the world being terrible, who have everything they could ever want. I think your analysis is correct where they're concerned. In America, certainly, it isn't too much to complain about, there wasn't until Obama came in. In the UK, we have a problem, and in Europe more generally, we have a problem, and that is this sort of influx of radical Islam. And the immigration stuff in Germany is horrifying, but the UK hasn't escaped from this. We've got 1,400 girls who were sexually assaulted and gang raped in Rotherham by Pakistani rape gangs.
Well, it's like going to one of our universities.
Which was not so... Well, you would believe that, wouldn't you? Yeah, no. There are real rape cultures. They're in the Middle East. They're anywhere you find Islam.
And Ivy League.
Hold on. I know a guy from Pakistan, and I didn't see him rape anyone while I was talking to him. So
it
you're
can't
wrong.
Be real. It
you're
can't
wrong.
be real. Well, this is precisely the kind of argument that is used to excuse this stuff, and it's why for 10 years, girls were being targeted, racially targeted. They were going for white girls because they were considered less.
Well, there was whole neighborhoods you couldn't walk through, and nobody said anything. That's in the middle of France.
That's perfectly true, and they still are, and they're getting worse. And Germany is now. Germany as a country is screwed.
Well, Germany. I'll tell you what's going on with Germany. Germany exterminated a bunch of Jews and gypsies and homosexuals and retarded people 65 or 75 years ago, and they're overcompensating now, which is going to cause them problems in the future.
That's true, but they're importing the one group of people that hates Jews even more than the Germans did.
Oh, I never thought about it that way.
It's like Merkel is sort of accidentally welcoming in a second Holocaust.
Well,
these places, you don't read this in the German press, but there are these places in France, bagel stores, and the bagel store bit of it never makes it into the news report. I said, they just totally at random chose this synagogue. They totally at random chose this bagel store, and the media won't report on that. They won't tell you what was actually blown up.
I don't get. I'm not an Obama basher per se. I disagree with a lot of his stuff, but I understand his appeal in many ways. All right. But when he won't call Fort Hood he calls that a workplace killing, or will not say Islamic terror or something, will not even use the words. He says things like unfortunate incident and stuff like that. At that point, it becomes a little comical, right?
But people know this now. They're waking up to this stuff. They realize when Paris happened, it took some British TV networks. I on Sky News very often, love Sky News, love many of those people on there. I did a Trumpism then, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. They're all fantastic.
Love these people.
Terrific.
Love these people. They're great.
Terrific.
I love them. We have many great relationships. But it took them a day and a half to say the word Muslim or Islamic or terror. It was just tragedy in Paris. It's not a tragedy. It's not a tragedy. Some guy walked in, went, "Oh, what?" and blew people up,
I know.
I mean, all sounds approximate.
Yes.
So, I nailed it. That was good.
That was pretty good, yeah.
I don't
hear me do the Star Spangled Banner.
I don't get it either. I don't.
Well, the reason is that the left has constructed this pyramid of victimhood.
Yes.
White gay men like me don't score very highly anymore, which is why the Daily Beast is telling us that our dating preferences are racist, that we still have white privilege, and you go up the ladder, and the very, very top, even above trannies, who are completely untouchable, perfect, beautiful angels from heaven who can never put a foot wrong. Above trannies, you've got Muslims. Why? Because Muslims agree with the left that the West is bad. And all the things that radical Islam likes, feminists like too. If you look at what they want women to cover up, they want less speech, they want all this stuff. Feminism and radical Islam aren't that different. They look very similar if you actually put them side by side. How they want society to look, segregated, this, that and the other. You've got this crazy Jeremy Corbyn, the left-wing guy who's leading the Labour Party in the UK, who suggested segregated train carriages. Well, where have I seen that before? This is the thing. I mean,
for whom?
For men and women. Men and women. Segregated train carriages for men and women. Now, of course, the left will say it's to protect women from sexual violence. Islam will say it's to, sort of admit that it's because men can't control themselves. Both of those things are sexist. But the end result of this is the same. I say this to Black Lives Matter protesters in college. I say, you know what, guys? You're coming in here stoking racial hatred. I'm sorry to say it, like the KKK. You're coming in here asking for segregated dorms. You want blacks-only dorms. Well, guess who else might have quite liked that? The KKK. You're coming in, and you run through the list of how society would look if these guys got their way, and it ain't that different. And you look at this radical feminist progressive politics in America, what they actually want society to look. I know it sounds stupid, but what they want society to look like doesn't look that different from many of the things that Muslims want. And of course, all of the criticisms that radical Muslims and even frankly, mainstream Muslim society. I mean, we're not talking about extremists here. I could be killed for being gay in 11 countries. That's not ISIS. That's mainstream Muslim society, right? But if you look at the criticisms of the West that Muslims in the Middle East make, well, progressives agree with them all.
Yeah, look. My problem. I have the same sort of stance that Bill Maher has here, which is everyone always goes, well, there's just a tiny, tiny, tiny little minority of folks that are carrying out these atrocities. And yes, that's true. And then there's a much larger group of people that are watching it go down and not really judging or doing anything about it.
Where's the worldwide Muslim peace movement? Because there are Christian ones, there are Buddhist ones, there are Sikh peace organizations, there are African peace movements that want to bring that, to fix this and that continent. There are Indian ones, there are Chinese ones, there are peace movements everywhere in the world. Where's the Muslim peace movement?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like we have the Klan, but the Klan is frowned upon.
It's an irrelevance.
You're shunned. They're irrelevant and they're shunned. Like everyone goes, oh, don't be naive. Okay, you tell me the last time some clan atrocity-based atrocity happened. I mean,
name a single white supremacist columnist in a national newspaper or a white supremacist presenter on television, because I can show you some black supremacist ones.
Right.
Name the last time that a white supremacist went anywhere close to saying white people are better and didn't have their life destroyed.
That's the
we don't
point.
tolerate
We
it.
shun it. We shun it. And
despite the fact that we built everything, we did. I mean, there are perfectly valid reasons to be quite proud of what this particular race has accomplished. If you take the view that skin, I don't.
White pride, what Milo's saying, right?
No, I mean, I don't really care that much because I prefer to interrogate people on the basis of what's in their character.
I do scream
if you take that view,
I'm with you. If
you take that view, then there is an objectively better race.
I scream at people all the time when they're like, I know heterosexual white males are the enemy, but we got the Golden Gate Bridge out of them, didn't we? At least
the internet, we got to space, we got the global financial system. We've got, we've raised continents that are not white out of poverty thanks to globalization and the free market economy. We're lifting India out of poverty. We've enabled all of China's progress. Well, ain't that fucking bad?
Thank you. Podcasts, the Milo, and now I'm going to spell this out for you. YIANNOPOULOS show, the new podcast. That's on you listen to it on the Podcast One app. Love that.
Yes, that's part of joining the family.
And go online and check him out online and find out where he's going to be in speaking tour near you. Thank you so much, Milo.
Thanks for having me.
And Joe Coy as well. Koi Pond, check that out. So until next time, it's Adam for Gina and Milo and Bald saying mahalo.